I'll say this a couple of times because I got cut off there at the end, right at a minute. Hugh Patterson has made a $400,000 challenge gift. He says, I know that money's in this room, in this church. So we're trying to take advantage and unlock this gift. And thank you for being here today. We'll start off with a brief video.
Before 2024, there was no inpatient hospice house in Hampton Roads. Yet every day, 45 people in our region needed that level of care. Local doctors and hospice nurses saw the gaps firsthand, especially for older adults and veterans. Families faced impossible choices: care for loved ones around the clock at home while still working, or hospitalize them.
Death is a traumatic event for both the person who's dying and the family, particularly for the family. And I think you need a place where the family members are not trying to take care of the patient with their personal needs, their eating, their bathing, whatever, as well as trying to take care of their parting needs, their spiritual needs. You're giving up the love of your life. And I think that makes a big difference, to be able to do it in a place where you're not, you've just got time to be together and not worrying about how you're going to take care of somebody.
In 2015, a group of dedicated citizens came together with a bold vision. The city of Virginia Beach donated land, and the effort to build the first freestanding hospice house took flight.
Broken!
From day one, the goal was simple: create a peaceful, home-like setting for patients who needed either short-term respite care or 24/7 end-of-life support. Respite care offers short-term relief for caregivers by giving them a moment to rest. Hospice care provides families comfort and dignity at the end of life. What began as a dream became a capital campaign with a goal of raising $11.2 million to make it real. The lead gift came from the Desorts family, honoring Dr. Ronald Desorts, a pioneer in mental health care.
Our family is truly honored and overwhelmed with joy to continue his legacy with his name on this beautiful house, providing the community a place of dignity, love, and compassion at the end of life.
Partnerships with Westminster Canterbury on Chesapeake Bay and Beth Shalom Village made this vision possible. And the community rallied. One donor, one gift, one event, one dream at a time. Construction began in September 2022. This house wasn't built by one person, it was built by hundreds. Donors stepped up, volunteers signed on, nurses, aides, cooks, and chaplains answered the call. By April 2024, we held our ribbon-cutting ceremony with Governor Glenn Youngkin.
And I'm reminded how important it is to be in a place where there is an opportunity to simply be together, to simply reflect, to pray, to lift up, and to say goodbye. And what a place this is to do exactly that.
And in September 2024, the doors opened. So far, many families have been welcomed, requiring us to open our second wing sooner than expected. Each patient with their own story, each treated with dignity.
It serves so many people at end of life, family members who need help and support, who have hospice and need either a respite stay or need management of the individual's pain and symptoms. We're the place that they can come, they're comfortable, and the caregiver can be a son or daughter and not the person providing the direct care.
A house built by the community, for peace, for divinity, for love. It was created to give people the right kind of goodbye. And for every hand held, every quiet breath, every final I love you, this house is here. The daughter of one of our patients said it best.
The nurses were fantastic. They were able to provide the comfort care that she needed to keep her comfortable and pain-free so that we could focus on just being able to be her daughters.
A volunteer shared, "There's something sacred about this place. You can feel it when you walk in the door. This is more than a building. This is a sanctuary for life's final chapter. This is how it should be. This is hospice at its best, a place of comfort, of compassion, of care, a very special place." Join us. Give the gift of peace and time for families to be families, not home caregivers. Support the Desort's Hospice House of Hampton Roads today.
Thank you. So I'll begin with the end in mind. So we were successful in raising 10 million of our 11.2, and we have that to make up in our capital campaign. And it's a true charity in the sense that it's going to need $300,000 to $400,000 a year to survive. Now, an encouraging story is that we are ahead of schedule on our pro forma, and we're already opening the second wing, 6 beds. According to Virginia regulations, if you build 18, you're a hospital, which we can't afford to be. So we have a sufficient 2 pods of 6, and we're ahead of schedule in opening the second wing. Hugh has made a challenge of $400,000 to help close that gap on the capital campaign. And we're glad you're here to listen today, and we'll educate you about the need, how it came about. Jolynn Chafin is right here. I mentioned her in my very brief talk. Jolynn cared for her mother at a hospice house in Kansas City, and she told Andy how critical that was in helping her mother. And Andy and Jolynn came and put the squeeze on me and said, "You're in a good position to do something about this," a number of years ago. And then I turned to the most competent, best person I knew to help out, and that was my wife, Barbara, who organized the corporation. And it's a separate 501c3. It's not part of Westminster. We do some services, management services for it at cost, essentially, because it's a true charity. We just want to help out. So anyway, that's how it got started. Jolynn is in the room, and I'd love to have her say a few words about it. We also have our development director, Lynn Clements. Lynn has been the executive director of the aquarium in the city for many years, director of the Slover Library, and we are fortunate that she came to help us at the hospice house, and she's been indispensable. Amy Shire is a volunteer who does PR for us. She's in the back there, and Amy worked at Westminster for a long time, and when she retired, she came. What's wrong? I can't hear you. Susan. Just say it. Susan. Oh, okay. Well, I'll get to Susan later, Susan. Thank you. I would definitely do that. Anyway, so a number of people have been important here. Susan Wynn, as you know, is a fundraiser par excellence, and she joined us in the early days and helped secure some major gifts already from some members of this church and other friends of hers. She's also took on helping us in the midst of her own, I think, $19 million campaign for mental health with the Hospital for King's Daughters, Children's Hospital for the King's Daughters. So it was great that she came in and helped us. So there have been many people. The way God works is no one person can claim credit for anything. There are many people without whom this would not have happened. So hospice care, just a quick primer, most hospice care is done by home agencies in your private house. And the government will pay enough to educate the family, drop off drugs and comfort packs, and do occasional nursing visits. That's what insurance pays for. The family is expected to do the hands-on care. And that can work for a while until it doesn't. There are 3 buckets of people that really can't be well served by that model. The first are people who have no family, or their family's working, and they just can't take off the time on a sustained basis to coordinate care in the house. Second bucket are people who just emotionally can't handle a death in the house, with children in the house and others in the house. She's given me permission to tell this story, but Shirley Wharton, the chief nursing officer of Centerra for many years, her husband passed away from cancer while there were children in the home. And he made her swear that she wouldn't have him pass away in the house, and she had to break the rules and get him back in the hospital earlier to make sure that that wouldn't happen. And then there are people, one of direct experience Hugh knew of that he talked about, where the pain is out of control and people don't know there's another place they could go for more supplemental care, which ends up normally being a nursing home, some aren't too nice, an assisted living, where home hospice comes in and supplements that care, and they have to pay about $500 a night for a per diem in a nursing home to take care of the daily needs. And those are the options out there. The government keeps track because most hospice care is paid for by Medicare. And the government, of course, has its own financial challenges, and they fund the home model. They don't really fund residential care to make up that gap. And but there are statistics all across the nation that say for every day of private in-your-house care, X number of days in a hospice house would be necessary if there was a hospice house. We didn't have one in Southampton Roads. It was shocking. I grew up in a little rural county in Maryland, farm community, St. Mary's County. We only had 90,000 citizens. The whole hospice movement started in the late 60s, and by the mid-70s, my little county had a hospice house. I was shocked when I came to Hampton Roads and found there was none. But statistically, for the number of days that we know exist in Southampton Roads for in-your-house hospice care, applying that formula that holds up all over the nation, Southampton Roads needs 45 beds. We could only start with 12, again, because of the 18-bed hospital limitation. We have mayors from all the other cities asking us to build a hospice house in their city. They offered to do a TV commercial about it. If you've been around Hampton Roads long enough, you know how hard it is to get cities to cooperate about anything and agree on anything. All the mayors want the next hospice house in their area. Virginia Beach donated the land, which helped get it started. Southers are willing to donate land, but we got to pay this one off first and get this one on a sustainable financial footing. And it will be. I'll tell you two stories. Again, in St. Mary's County, I'd go to a county fair as a kid. They do a fundraiser for a hospice house, quilts, all this stuff. And people would just throw the money in and say, I don't even want the ticket. You were so good to my mom. And we're seeing that already with 20 or 30 patient gifts now and we've not been open for that long. We're tracking right at the pro forma, a 3-year fill-up and a 3-year education of the community to fill the hospice house, and we're opening our second wing ahead of schedule. So the demand is there. Another story, Williamsburg, and to their credit, they took a house on a pipestem lot in the neighborhood and just called it a hospice house and let the home agencies come in that house, and they don't collect any fees. And they raised $900,000 a year in Williamsburg to sustain that hospice house. Very rarely do they go out of business once they're started, but they're absolutely dependent on the community rallying to give it financial support. It's a different model. We decided to take insurance because we've got to get this one off the ground to help the next one and the next one, and the insurance is there. We have an angel fund to take care of people who can't pay. And when we get to the place, which will probably be about a year from now, a year ahead of schedule, where we have more people who need us than we have the beds, we'll apply the principle, what would Jesus do in trying to figure out who to admit? Is there family in the picture? Who needs the help the most? So that's the story of hospice care generally and why our hospice house fits in. If we don't have one, people have to go again to a nursing home or an assisted living, some of which aren't that nice. And that's where they get their supplemental care. Jolene, do you want to tell your story? Come on up here, because
I was in Kansas City when my mother was in a hospice house in April, and this was July. And I was just blown away at the caring, the kindness. It was, what you got?
Don't mind me.
They did everything to make her last days, and she happened to be there 10 days, and before she died. And the night before she died, I was sitting there with her, and she said, "Oh, let's do a crossword puzzle." And I said, "Oh, okay, we can do that." And the next day, she was gone. But there were fresh flowers, anything they wanted to eat within reason. As our hospice has a screen porch, they had a screen porch. And this was in 2014, and computers had just started. And they had computers in the area that parents could use. There was always some kind of food, volunteers who brought it in. Oh, and that's something I forgot to say the other day. This young girl came in one day and said, "What would you like for me to play?" She had her guitar and sang, and Mother said, "Somewhere over the rainbow." I guess she thought she was going that way. I came back here and found out that we had nothing. Here we have Portsmouth, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, other than, I guess, the hospital, going to a hospital, especially if you're in great pain. And I had a friend who tried to take care of her sister-in-law at home. And it was so hard. She knew nothing about giving medicines. And at the end, it was not pleasant. Whereas this was like a 10-star hotel. So we need to get the word out so people know about it.
Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Yeah, Ben, the people get put on hospice, but the survivability, how long people live on hospice, is a great variable. How do you account for someone who might live, 6 weeks or 3 months in hospice? Do they stay that long time?
Well, we aim to take care of people in the last month, but as you say, it's hard to time that. Some people graduate from hospice. Maybe Father Nigel and his team will come around. Some people do get better. I'm sorry, give me the question again.
You said that you're trying to do it for the last.
Oh, the last month, right. So if someone stays a long time and there are greater needs and we see that they'd be okay in their house, that'd be a difficult decision, but that's sort of they asked me at 7:15, said, what would you do when you have more people who need it than you have beds? Because you're gonna need 45 at some point as the community gets educated. And all I can tell you is right now, it'll be, what would Jesus do? For the existing person in the bed and the people who need it, and we'll come up with more definitive guidelines, but that's the guiding principle.
The second question I have is, it's listed as the Desorts. Was Ron Desorts instrumental in this?
Ron Desort's family gave $2 million of the $10 million, very instrumental in this. And his gift is the naming rights for the first campus. The corporation is Hospice House of Hampton Roads, and through that corporation, we hope to build more in other cities in the Southampton Roads region. But that campus will always be the Desort's Hospice House. Great question.
Where is that?
So where is it? Great question. Red Mill Common. Do you know where the Red Robin is, Upton Road? Just go back north. I see there's fans of Red Robin. Yeah. Just go north up from Red Robin, and it's a beautiful house on your right. You can't miss it. Brick house on the stormwater retention pond to give it a waterfront atmosphere and relax.
Can you explain more where that is if we don't know Red Robin?
So if you know Red Mill Commons, if you get on your phone and you Google Nimmo Parkway and Upton, you'll be really close. And now we show up, because we've been in business long enough that we show up on Google Maps and Apple Maps. And if you call Lynn, whose contact information is here, she'll arrange a tour and we'll take you there. Several people at the 7:15 wanted to get a tour. So we'd
It's
be
near
happy
the
to do
Publix. Do you know where the new Publix in Virginia Beach is, the grocery store? It's down General Booth from the aquarium. You know where the new aquarium is?
Yeah.
If you're coming towards the municipal center from the aquarium, you keep going, but you don't get to the municipal center. It's on the left-hand side.
Big shopping center.
Yes.
Yeah, the big shopping center, Red Mill Commons.
In the back seat.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, candidly, it'd be nicer to have a little more central location, but it was free land. The city donated free land. We already needed to raise a lot of money, and so it turns out to be a wonderful spot. And if it's good as it is, nobody complains about the distance to get there.
So as far as payment per patient, I know that my father went through hospice at home, and Medicare paid a certain fee every day or every week or whatever for someone to come in a minimum amount of time, every day, just an hour or so. Do you get that same fee at the hospice house, just like Medicare would pay at home? And then the second question is, are the patients and their families charged an additional fee?
Right. So we get a higher fee when you qualify for respite care, which is a break for the family, about $500 a day. We get about $900 a day, which we split with the home hospice agency. Usually that's referring, not split, but share a certain percentage. The majority stays at the hospice house. For general inpatient care, that's when symptoms are out of control. Highly audited, highly regulated by the government. So yes, we do get insurance and primarily Medicare benefits to help with the cost. We looked at the 990s from the 10 closest hospice houses, and it fits with national statistics. Medicare and insurance reimbursement only cover 86 cents of every $1 of operating expense. So it is a perpetual charity. It will always lose money and need annual giving to survive, and they all do.
But the patients are not charged an additional fee? Like
No, unless the
20%,
patient, unless the patients run out of respite care days, but they want to be in the hospice house and they have the means, we will then charge them the respite rate, which I think is $500 a night. But we have an angel fund to defray the cost for anybody who cannot afford to be there. Yes. Ruth, I'm sorry, go ahead, go.
So I'm from North Carolina.
Yes.
So I'm happy that this is coming to the Hampton Roads. Both of my parents were in hospice in Greenville, North Carolina. They have a beautiful hospice home there. My mother had hospice at home, and then she went her last 2 days in the house. And my father went from the hospital to there, and I just cannot say more about the service that we had from my father and mother at the end. It was amazing. And so I'm happy to hear that this is here. And then Medicare did pay for all of it. We didn't have to pay anything for both of my parents and the services. So anyhow, I'm excited to see this.
Well, you come from a progressive state. North Carolina has over 50 hospice houses. West Virginia,
Yeah.
which has about the same statewide population as Southampton Roads, has 8, and we had 0. It's a mystery to me how that hole could exist and our social safety net for that long. Susan?
So I was fortunate, it was a total God thing, that there is medicine. There's it's a Para Hospice House here on Roosevelt Road, 12 beds, that when my mom had a DNR and the hospital didn't like me enforcing it, they basically kicked us out. A social worker came and said, there's a hospice house, 12-bed hospice house. And I had no idea it existed. Through the grace of God, we got in, and it sounds, I mean, yours looks spectacular, and I know they need more, but I don't understand why no one is aware that there was one. You know, and it didn't cost us anything, and there were 12 beds, and it was all lovely care. So I hope there's still a business. Now we have 24.
They're not.
There we
They're
go.
not. Centerra took the nursing home on Rosemont Road and tried to do the hospice house for a while. It's more of a medical model than the home type model that we're trying to build. And it takes a while to educate the community. That's why we went and got a professional pro forma from people who start hospice houses, and they said it's going to take 3 years before you can fill up. Even though, and so Centerra tried, and I give them credit, and Centerra gave us a $500,000 gift. And we hope for more support from Centerra. So I am not criticizing Centera at all.
No, I didn't mean that
But
at
they-
all, but I was thinking, nobody ever talks.
No, there was one, it was a well-kept secret, which is not what you want.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, and and they shut it down.
So, can you give an overview of how people can volunteer?
That's great. Barbara, it's probably something you would try.
We are looking for all kinds of volunteers to do a whole variety of things, from sitting at the desk to delivering, picking up flowers, food, all kinds of things. The Virginia Garden Club has donated all kinds of landscaping and planting services, and once the garden is planted, they're donating services. I can give you the contact information for the woman, for Elizabeth, for the volunteer coordinator at the state. Don't walk away. For the volunteer coordinator at the hospice house, who would love to work with you. She does orientations at the hospice house for anyone who would like to volunteer. Their services at the hospice house. So, and actually, to keep our Medicare certification, we're required to have volunteers at the hospice house. So the more the merrier. It's a lovely place to volunteer.
One of the greatest things when we were there is that families, like at 6 o'clock, the families donated meals to every family that was there. So we were fed good food, like it was like restaurants. They come in and we asked them about that, and so my brother and sister and I, once a year, we send a meal to the one group. So that, I don't know if y'all have that set.
We hadn't thought about that idea.
Amazing.
We would love for people to volunteer to give meals. We've reached out to restaurants and
Usually it was families that had been through it.
That's a great idea.
And so they just would send
That's a great idea.
meals.
That's a great idea. And Ben, in response, also Ben, going back to your comment about people who may live longer, every hospice house, inpatient hospice house, has an exit strategy for each of their patients. So even if they think someone has a week or less to live, sometimes they rebound and they recover and they don't need the general inpatient, the IV drugs and the care anymore. So sometimes they actually, unfortunately, get told that they need to go home, which may be unfortunate or fortunate for their families. But sometimes they graduate back out of the hospice house and go home, and they may come back at a later date. But that does happen. 3 to 7 days is really the average stay, unfortunately, at the hospice house. What we find is that, and what all the hospice houses find, is that a lot of times the patients who have lasted at home for a long time, when they come to the hospice houses and they get their pain under control, their anxiety goes away also, because they're not worried about the stress in their home anymore, and the anxiety of their family members goes away, and they die fairly quickly. Actually, the grandmother of a college roommate of my daughter's actually went to the hospice house of Hampton Roads about 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and they were expecting her to be there for 3 to 5 days, and she died 2 hours after she got there. And they think it's because she just had her daughter and her grandson there and was in this wonderful, peaceful setting, and she let go. So that's the other thing, is the census is very difficult at these hospice houses, because some of them die a few hours after they get there, and unexpectedly, thinking that they'll be there for 3 to 7 to 3 weeks sometimes.
Just a suggestion,
Yes.
being the mom of high school kids, I don't know if you guys have engaged the school systems. But
There's one right there.
Yeah, I know. But I know, like, I belong to a tennis organization, and we are a community partner with the school system, and it might be a good way to mine volunteers. I know, like, the IB program at Princess Anne requires their students to have 50 hours of volunteer work, so that would be a good thing. There's also a business, I think Kempsville is the business one, so if you had a business project that you could partner with a high school student to get some, volunteer work done. Bayside runs the health sciences, so if you had, students that were interested in learning about hospice care and stuff, it'd be good to engage the school system.
That's a great idea, thank you.
Yeah, so I can give you the contact information for the community.
Please.
the one that gets community set up with schools.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Josh, thank you so much for volunteering.
Good idea.
We'll be getting your phone number too, Josh.
Then I used to work in oncology as a nurse and take care of people. And I've had people that were put on hospice, they said, well, I was put on hospice, but here I am 20 years later. So sometimes people need to get off hospice, but I think they used to have a hospice at Centera, Norfolk General, don't they?
So we were talking over here about the fact that if there is no hospice house, what happens to people who can't take care of themselves at home? They go readmit back to the hospital, or they admit to a nursing home, or they admit to assisted living or memory care, and the home hospice agency still comes into that place at the lower home reimbursement rate, and they pay privately. The family pays privately for the facility-based care at a nursing home or somewhere else. If you're in your 5-day respite window, the government will pay for them to come to our house, but if you stay longer, for a longer break, we will collect from those who can pay a nightly per diem.
They used to have a floor that was dedicated just to hospice, which was at Centera, Norfolk General, but that was a while back.
I was just going to say one other comment. When my father passed away several years ago, in a small town in Mississippi, there was no hospice home, and we were fortunate enough to have around-the-clock care, and so we paid 24/7 for several weeks.
Privately.
We just had nothing to do with insurance, and who took care of my father so that the family could have the same experience that you guys provide. If we didn't have the means to do this, there is no way my mother could have done this. She's like, no,
Sorry.
but she could not have done this. It would not have been possible, and it would just have been a disaster. It would have been a disaster about how do we take care of my dad if we couldn't afford 24/7 care. And most people cannot afford to do that. And that's why this is so important to people. So important.
Well, I've seen families try to manage 24/7 care from a distance, and that's a nightmare even, where they could afford to pay for it, but trying to do it if they didn't live close by.
Without having a family member in the home.
Without having a family member in the home was very, very difficult. And one person ended up having to quit her job and retire early to be able to fly back and forth to oversee and manage the 24/7.
That's if you're lucky enough to have children who can come in and arrange.
And I just want to share with y'all, this subject of a hospice has been going around for decades, and nobody could pull it off. They couldn't get permission, they're sitting. And so this is such an exciting, incredible opportunity for you all, seriously, to get involved, just to be a part of something that's new and that's really needed in this community. And the fact that Joanne and Ben and Barbara have done this is unbelievable. And we desperately have needed one for decades and decades. But what's exciting is this is going to catapult hospices for the state of Virginia. And the idea of being part of a startup is pretty exciting, because this is really fabulous. And when you go there, you are going to be absolutely amazed. It's a really nice hotel setting. It's calm, it's lovely, it's clean. Obviously, you've got great caretakers. But this is something, this is just the beginning. And to be a part of something like this is really exciting. And people don't understand. They just think, oh, it's sad, it's end of life. But we all go through it. And when you are part of something like this, whether in any kind of medical care, it's a feel good, Whatever you can do, whether you're volunteering, whether you can donate, to be a part of something like this is really going to be life-changing for you and so many people you'll never even meet. But, North Carolina, how many do they have?
They have 56
now.
Yeah, over 60 now.
Right. We are late to the game. Yeah. And so just to have a little bit of a stake in this game makes you feel really good. So Share, I mean, obviously they've got a lot of pamphlets to pass around, but share how nice a place this is and how it could possibly help care for your family member. I know, I just heard Dickie Pender passed away there recently. Some of you know him. But it's really something that Virginia Beach should be proud of. And when you talk about the meals, I think that can happen. I know I've been involved with Ron McDonald House for 40 years. And we have people, especially for holidays, people come in and it's like their regular thing. They bring all their employees, everybody makes something. But we have so many nights when people are dropping off food or flowers or fruit. And it's maybe you're not going to be feeding the people who are hospitalized or staying at the hospice, but you're caring for the family members. And that is equally as important. So whether they're cookies or fruit or fresh flowers, you know, just a little thing can make such a difference. So anyway, just pass the word that this is just number one. And hopefully we'll see Norfolk and Portsmouth and all the rest of them take hold, Charlottesville, whatever. But I mean, bravo to you all, because it's fantastic.
Thank you. So they see why a student is such a successful fundraiser. Any other questions? I don't want to keep you too long. It's a beautiful sunny day.
We have had residents from the Eastern Shore. People have come from the Eastern Shore, from Moyock, all over Hampton Roads too, so Middlesex County. So they've come from all over the area, not just right here in Virginia Beach.
Okay. Any final questions?
My comment, of course, as the fundraiser is if you would like to contribute, we do have the envelopes for you. You can also contribute online or send us a check to the P.O. Box, and you have a little envelope to do that. If you'd like to pledge an amount over time, I'd be happy to talk with you about that.
Thank you. State gifts and anything. Right. Yeah. So Lynn, just one other thing. She is so dedicated to this project. I found out this morning that her grandson, grandson was being baptized. I said, get out of here. I won't make that much of a mess of it. But she loves this project. So thank you.
I've worked at it for 2 years, and so we're really, it's something that's close to my heart. My mother was on hospice in 2005, so, you know, I understand the need for it, and I'm determined to raise that $11 million. So,
thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you.